There we go. All right. Um, let's just see who's in the room. I know everyone except how do you pronounce it? Samela? Samala? I'm terrible with names, by the way.
So you did a good job.
I'm terrible with names. Terrible. I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story. I don't even pronounce my own name correctly. I went
Uh,
uh I went years, years mispronouncing my own name. Um,
hmm.
so when I was in grade school, all the way up actually even through high school and college, I would always say my name is Raynor, which I have every right to say my name is Raynor. But later I found out the correct pronunciation is Raynor,
Oh,
because it's a German name. And then later I found out that I have a German great grandfather. So, and that's where my name comes from. But
sounds like an
so the running joke is I don't even pronounce my own name correctly. So if I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry. How do you give me the correct pronunciation?
Samaila.
Semela. I was
Samaila.
kind of I was kind of sort of right. Not exactly
Yeah,
right.
but oh,
So yeah, so once you tell us a little bit about yourself, Samaila.
so so I'm currently in Nigeria, northeast, sorry, northwestern part of the country. So the town is called Kaduna. I saw your post about this on LinkedIn. I thought I should join in. I hope I'm welcomed. I didn't know the restraints around the program or the requirements around just joining in. By training, I work a lot with educators, so teachers in particular. I'm very keen on instructional design. I'm very keen on improving science literacy. I do work in fund. I love sharing ideas, and I'm kind of trying to improve my capacity. And what better opportunity than to join this group? Yes,
Well,
that's
well,
it.
welcome, well, welcome, and there are no restraints. You can be anywhere around the world. We're based out of Riyadh. We started this back in 2017 out of Riyadh. Just to give everybody kind of a background. Um, at one point, we had over 200 members. Uh, but what happened, we were meeting regularly. I mean, doing some amazing things, helping people find work. Um, and then this thing called COVID happened. Well, two things at the same time happened. Two things happened simultaneously. Um, I started to work on my PhD and COVID happened. So two things happened simultaneously. And I told everyone, hey, look, guys, I'm working on my PhDs. I need someone to kind of take over the ship because I need to focus on, my coursework and then, um, then working on my dissertation, which took me actually 3 years, which is pretty decent time. But and then on top of COVID, people went home, people left, and we kind of fizzled out. So actually, there were three things happened, and simultaneously in Era, I moved the group to Telegram. I should have stayed in on WhatsApp, and I think that was a strategic error in that people are more used to operating out of WhatsApp. The 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 thinking was we could have a larger capacity because we were growing, and the thinking is we could have a larger capacity on Telegram because I think there was a restrict of like what 220 people were in the group at one time, but I think that restrict no longer exists. So the combination of those three things caused us to fizzle out. And so now that I'm finished my PhD, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, but year and a half ago, and and um, yeah, I want to see APEA come back because we did some amazing things in the run that we had in the 3 or 4 year run that we had. We did some really good things. We helped people transition out of Riyadh into other places around the world. We help people with get teaching licenses. Um, I think when we overall we help people move from not knowing pedagogy to kind of understanding pedagogy a little bit better and understanding instruction and curriculum and not falling victim to the fashion statements and some of the errors um, that we see not just in Saudi Arabia but all around the world. Um, I'm proud of that, and I want to get that back going again. All right, Mr. Sajad, you want to introduce yourself? Even though I know you.
Yes, yes, thank you. I am Sajid Nazar. Uh, I'm serving as assistant professor at a public sector college in Punjab, Pakistan. Uh, I teach at bachelor BS level in Pakistan. So here we are given a very large number. Uh, uh, we are given a class that consists of almost 50, 60 students, and duration of duration of a lecture is simply 40 minutes. So we cannot utilize our full potential to make students proficient in English. But what we do according to the design, we just simply prepare students for exam. Uh, 40 minutes are not 40 minutes is not enough time. Uh, so what we have to do is we have to stick to exam preparation. That's why we cannot utilize our full potential. We what we want to do, we want students to be proficient in listening, reading, writing. So we cannot integrate all these skills that we want. Therefore we are lacking in these things. We some there are some flaws in the system. So a common individual or a person himself cannot overcome those challenges, those problems. But what we can do in limited resources, we try to utilize uh, things, we try to improve stuff. First of all, I believed in cooperative learning method, and I also apply cooperative learning method in my classes as well. But you know that in large classes, if a class consists of 100 students, so it's and time duration for a lecture for a period in class is 40 minutes. So cooperative learning method does not work over there. So now I have tried to incorporate technology in my classes. I get the help of ChatGPT, call any AI, but there are some, where when we switch to some new things, so problems arise. Students don't have connections, they don't have internet access, they don't have gadgets. So in facing these problems, we are trying from our end that students should learn something, should get something, should prepare and be proficient in English. They shouldn't limit, they shouldn't take English as a subject. Normally, English is taken as a subject, but uh, being educationist, you know better that English is not a subject, English is a language. So it must be. We must deal it like a language. Students get chances to interact, so they must communicate in English. If they don't communicate, just they simply cram things, cram questions, so they don't work in real life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you said a lot. You said a lot. And that's a problem, is that there's a lot. We're really the only profession in the world where it's a lot, right? Because we have the burden of everyone on our shoulders. Like we have the burden of everything is based on us, right?
Yes,
Medicine, engineering, every aspect of everything as it relates to a person's destiny in life and life journey really hinges on how well we do our job, right? Well, in combination with parents. I always say in combination with parents, because parents are the primary teachers. And I truly believe that. Parents are the primary teachers. Without good parents, you know, it starts there. Parents are the primary teacher.
yes,
The village is the primary teacher. But formally, it's us. It's educators, and it's a lot. It's a big burden to carry. There's a lot to learn, and it requires a lot of us. But but there's not a reason for that does not mean that we can't do the job, because although it's a lot, we really have one responsibility, and that is
yes,
to model our life in front of learners. So when you said, Mr. Sajed, that English is not a subject, it's not. It is a conduit of how we express our wants, needs, and expectations. Whether it be Arabic, whether it be English, whether it be French, Spanish, Urdu, these are just conduits in which we express our want, needs, and expectations in relation to the stimuli that we are faced with on a daily basis. So, teachers or educators, I hate the number one. Let me start off. Let me say this: I hate the term teachers. Do not like that term, because we don't teach anyone anything. People teach
yes,
themselves. What we are facilitators, we're coaches, we're
yes,
motivators.
yeah,
That's what we do. You don't, if a person does not want to learn, they will not learn. Okay. Um, so it's that we have to understand it. There's no such thing as I taught someone something. No, they taught themselves. They just happen to accept the information that you gave them, right? Oh, excuse me. They happen to accept the data that you gave them, because there is a difference between data and information, right? And that's a big. I think that goes to some of the things that you're saying, uh, Mr. Sajad, is that uh, English is not a subject; it's life. And often we present English as if we think that we're giving information. Same thing with math or science or any subject. We think that we're giving information, but we're just giving data. And this is why we suffer from the inert knowledge problem, because we all have this thing in our brains called the amygdala. Every last one of us. If you don't have an amygdala, you are not alive, or you're probably in a same asylum, somewhere in a psychological ward. We all have an amygdala, and that amygdala does many things, but the most important thing for us is it deals with one essential aspect: what's in it for me. And every last student has one of these things: what's in it for me. And if if you have not successfully convinced your learners that there's something in it for them, then all you're doing is spouting off data. You're just spouting off data, right? And that's our job, is to say, hey, look, I have something for you. And I believe it fits your wants, needs, and expectation. Now, you tell me after I give you this data whether it turns into information for you. And we don't ever ask that question. And I'll shut up in a second. I just want you guys to understand my philosophy. Um, wouldn't it be a wonderful world if assessments went like this? Tell me what you learned in this course. Tell me what you learned in this unit. Isn't that the best question in the world? Tell me, and you have a rubric behind that, right? You have a rubric that sees whether what the student's response is aligned with the course objectives, right? And the course aims. And depending on the rubric, depending on whether the student hits the points in the rubric, the main thing that you're looking for is whether that student actually turned that data into information, something that's meaningful for their life. And if you find that a large percentage of the students respond in ways where the information is not meaningful to their life, that informs who what. That informs that you didn't do your job in that course or in that unit. And see, that's a big pill for us to swallow. We don't want to accept that the students failed the test because we don't know how to teach. Because I've served 7 years in the United States Army. And as a leader, if I had students or I've had soldiers who didn't pass something, that wasn't the soldier's problem, that was my problem. Because I did something incorrect. Something that I did in my training and something I did in my interactions with that soldier or those soldiers were off. So I have to adjust my actions. But how many of us do this? And ultimately, this is what APEA is about. APEA is about not giving shiny bells and whistles, but it's about what we call class action research and being a reflective educator and figure out what we can do to meet students' wants, needs, and expectations. Nothing more, nothing less. And so the initial goal of APEA was to get people licensed, because the licensure process will help you go through that journey to decide, number one, whether this is something you really want to do. And number two, how you go about doing that successfully. This thing that you really want to do. How do you go about doing it successfully where you can be an effective educator, where you can operate intrinsically instead of extrinsic, where your focus is not instrumental, but it's integrated. Well, it's not instrumental, it's really integrated, right? I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Is that a bunch of just idealistic nonsense? Is it not representative of the real world? Or tell me what you guys think about that. Not all at one time.
I should tell.
Sajid, maybe you could go first.
Yeah, start and then I will take over.
Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, so I heard everything you said. My thoughts surrounds goes around the kind of different standards that are set. So you spoke about the learner expressing what they have learned, and that coming from a point like a holistic point of view. So maybe what they learned might not be something that you envisage in terms of the learning objectives, and then as a facilitator of that learning, you have to reflect back and say, oh, did I want to teach something different? Or does this expand the scope of, yeah, I did not plan for this, but I'm excited that this is actually what the student took away from. The feedback I have is when it comes to standards, um, do the teacher kind of align with a particular um, method or methodology, right? And you've mentioned it, there are so many ideas, like everybody has an idea of what a teacher should do. Like it's incredibly frustrating to hear people telling teachers, oh, you should do it this way, you should like, and I always say, why don't you ever go to doctors and say, oh, you should do your practice this way. You go to a pilot and say, but everybody has an opinion on what the teacher does. So does it
Do you know what? Do you know why is that? Do you know why that is? Dr. Camaro Devello stated why that is. You know why that is? And I agree with Dr.
I
Camaro.
I would love to hear
The
what you have.
Dr. Camaro Devello says the reason why people do that to teachers is because we all been in the classroom. We all haven't been doctors. We all haven't been pilots, right? I have never been in front of a patient as a medical practitioner, nor have I been in the control of an airplane, right? But all of us have been in a classroom and we had teachers, and many of us have done it for 12, 13, 14 years, and some a lot longer, right? And
Yeah,
so we all have
yeah,
an opinion of how it should look because we all went through
right.
that experience. And that's what makes our job difficult is because everybody thinks they can do it because they all been in
Mm-hmm.
the classroom, right? And they all
Yeah,
have everybody thinks they have a methodology, right? Or not methodology, they think they have a method. The problem is they have
right,
no methodology to their method, right? So when you talk about, I
yeah,
love when people use the words method and methodology because they're two different things,
mm-hmm.
right? In order to have a method or apply a method, you should have a methodology first, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
the methodology is the study of the method, right?
Yeah,
So that's the problem I have when you have these posts on LinkedIn, for instance.
yeah,
People will say, try this method. Okay. But if you don't have a methodology, nor do you have the
yeah,
resource, because if you have the methodology, then what happens is you have the resources, you plant, and it works well because teaching and learning is about planning. You can't just inadvertently one day say, I'm going to do project-based learning. Hey
mm-hmm.
guys, let's do project. It doesn't work that way because the whole school has to be set up for project-based learning, right? And you have to have stakeholders, and everyone has to buy into it. And the school needs to be developed in that way, right? Just like when Mr. Sajjad talked about AI use. If everyone doesn't buy into AI use, it's gonna be problematic because do you have the resources? You said it yourself, Mr. Sajjad. Everybody doesn't have the tablet or the laptop or the internet speed or all those things that you need. So when you talk about AI, first you got to make sure that you understand the methodology before you try to apply the method, right? Um, and I think that's what doctors are good at, right? That's why we respect doctors. because doctors went to medical school, and they went to medical school to understanding a certain methodology and how they will practice medicine. And based on that methodology, they apply methods. Teachers, on the other hand, we just apply methods with no methodology, right? So we don't know what we say. Hey, and what it's called is fashion statements. I went to TESOL Arabia years ago, maybe 2016, and somebody did a presentation called fashion statements. And that's exactly what it is that, oh, this is the latest and greatest thing. Let's try it. Right. And then everybody uses the buzzwords for 2 or 3 years. Right. And then it kind of just fades out the way. Right. It just fades. And then the next guy comes in he writes a book and he says something amazing. And then everybody uses that and it just fades away. And because teachers don't understand, they first have the method, they have to have a methodology before they have a method. And that's why you should go to a teaching college. Right. Everyone, we have a teaching shortage of millions of people, right? We need millions of teachers, right? Because we have billions of people, so we need millions of teachers. The problem is that the teachers have to have a methodology or have to be trained in a methodology, right? So you can't give them a TESOL course for a couple weeks and think they're going to be a good teacher. You can't put them do PG. What's it? PGC? What is it called? PGCE? Help me out, somebody. What is it called? Type it in, Loreto. I know you know. PG. What is it? PGCE? I forgot what it is. We don't have that in America. And even in America, right, you can't go through a quick alternative online teaching course, right? You need to go through the fire, right? Because PGCE, thank you, Loretta. PGCE. You can't go through a PGCE course and just think you know. That's it, right? Because that's too wham bam, thank you, man. You have to go through the process. That teaching college that is birthed out of a methodology or a professor who has his or her methodology and you train under that professor, right? And then you develop and you sprout, right, under a certain methodology, right? And you, from that methodology, you follow methods and you create your own method, right? And that's where we kind of get lost as teachers because, number one, going back to what you stated earlier, everybody's telling us what to do, right? Mama and daddy is telling you what to do. The principal is telling you what to do. The vice principal is telling you what to do. The business guy down the street is telling you what to do. The politicians are telling you what to do. Everybody's telling you what to do, and everybody tells you that you suck at what you do, right? Because everybody thinks they can do it. And so that what happens is everybody gets into the profession. All right. And we all have heard the term, those who cannot do teach. I hate that term. Have you ever heard that term? Those who cannot do teach? That's a nonsensical term because teachers are or educators are people that can do, definitely can do, and can do it better than anyone else, right? Because a lot of us, we've gone up the higher order thinking. We know we have a methodology, we have a method, and many of us have real world experiences that we can apply, right? Um, so it so that's why, again, circling it back around regarding APEA, is that's why APEA exists. So we can say, hey, look, I got it. Right? I got it. I know what I'm doing. I've done the proper planning. I know that this is not a fashion statement. I know this is hard. But on the same token, I know that I'm teaching individuals and not a class. I know that I'm student-centered. I know that I don't know everything. I know that each class of students are different than the previous class. These are the things I know. And because I know I don't know, right? The one thing, here's the one difference in me for people who are watching this. Um, I think folks will see a slight difference in how I was in 20, when they first met me in 2014, 15, 16. Uh, I had a lot of answers to questions. But when I went through my PhD journey, now I realize I don't have any answers. I don't know much of anything, right? And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of going through the academic journey, is that you get your bachelor's degree and you're like wide open, your nose is open, you're gullible to everything, and then you get your master's degree and you go, yeah, I know everything, right? And then you get your PhD and you go, I know nothing at all, right? And that's where you should be. Is as educators, we are in a constant flux of learning, and that's why I really challenge you guys. I'll put it in the APEA group, a book by Donald Freeman called Class Action Research. I ask you guys, I beg you guys, I implore you guys to take a look at that book, and I'll put in it tonight, called Class Action Research. And it's all about it's a recognized approach to professional development, professional development or continuous improvement as it relates to teaching. You have to be there's a method to that, right? And until we all get to that point, then we're all going to be in flux. The other point I would make, and then I'm gonna let other people speak, is that we can do it. We can do this. All the tens of millions of teachers out there can do this, right? Don't preachers do it? Don't imams do it? Don't rabbis do it? Right? They all, for the most part, they all go to a college, whether it be as an Islamic a college, or whether or institution, or whether it be a Christian institution, or whether it be a Catholic institution, or whether it be a Jewish. They all go through a methodology, method kind of a process, which lends them credibility, right? And if somebody doesn't go through that process, others in that profession or others in that religion will say, you can't stand in front of people and preach, right? You can't, if you don't know the Quran and you haven't gone through that that process, you can't stand in front of people and give Juma prayer, right? If you haven't if you haven't gone through a monastery school, a ministry, you can't stand in front of people and preach the word of God, right? You can't be a priest unless you gone through the proper channels to be a priest, right? So you can study that methodology method. And so the same thing has to exist for teachers. And it's possible, but we just have to change the way we look at teaching and learning. We have to move from teacher-centered instruction. Just got to do it. Teacher-centered has its place. Don't get me wrong. It has its place. I'm not saying totally get rid of it, but we have to move, especially nowadays with these generation alphas. They have more information than any other generation in the world at their fingertips. And they were born into it. They were truly born into the 24-hour news cycle, truly born into Google, truly born into YouTube as a search engine, truly born into Facebook as a search engine, truly born into even TikTok as a search engine, which really puts us in a knowledge-based economy. Like, we are dead set in a knowledge-based economy because of Generation Alpha. So the way we interact with them, and Generation Alpha are going into high school now. They're about to go into high school, right? I think in a couple of years, Generation Alpha will be in high school, right? So the way we teach Generation Alpha cannot be the way the baby boomers learned, or the way the silent generation learned. Cannot. Because now you're going from an industrial-based mentality to a knowledge-based mentality in a postmodern world. So to kind of keep this moving along, I want to ask you guys, what do you want to get out of the APEA experience? What would you guys like to get out of the APEA experience? You can either type it in the chat or you can talk to us about it. How are you, Zarin? Long time? Anybody want to tell me what you want to get out of the APEA experience?
We will peer when we talk about peer experience, it's a wonderful experience because students learn from from one another. Students learn from each other, and they learn better from each other. So in peer experience, they learn to work in team. They they know that how to be a good team member. They themselves are individually accountable of their own tasks, and they are positively interdependent on others as well. So pair work, it works in classrooms. In at every level, pair work definitely works uh, because it provides them chances to interact. They talk to each other, discuss problems, so sort out problems, and reach to some conclusion. So pair work, definitely we should promote it in our classes, and we do promote in our classes.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you said that, Mr. Sajad, because Ms. Zoran, she was one of our original members from way back in 2017, and she remembered, and she just typed in the chat that she want us to go back to the book Cultures of Thinking by Ron Richard, and I think that's an excellent way to start this off. Maybe I'll hold off on Donald Freeman's class action research book, and we go with Ron Richart's the Culture of Thinking book, the 8 factors that control how we revolutionize teaching in the classroom. It's an excellent book. It's very informative and it's easy to read. It's easy to comprehend. It's very practical book. So I think you're right, Zarin. I think we should start with that book. I'm gonna upload it tonight or tomorrow morning. I gotta find it. I think it's on my computer. I'll upload the PDF and we can deal with that book, chapter by chapter, because I think it's a great way to kind of start off with those 8 forces. And what I'll do is I'll try to find the video on YouTube where we had Dr. Anderson from Fort Hays State University give us a talk on that. If you remember, Zarin, I don't know if you remember when Dr. Anderson did that. But I think that's a good start. Any other suggestions regarding what you would give me some tangible things, guys, that you want to get from APEA? What would you like to tangibly get from APEA?
Actually, what we want to get uh, pair work, that's a good thing. It provides lot of chances to interact. It equips us that how we can keep our class engaging, interactive.
So
Because
are you saying that you want us to start talking about the benefits of peer work and looking at methods around that?
we can talk. We can start from here.
All right.
Peer
So
work.
are you willing to give us a presentation on the benefits of peer work and peer interaction?
Yes, if you share some material on it, I can present.
I, I can definitely share some. I can't do it because I'm right in the middle of a research right now I'm doing, and that's taking my time. But I can definitely share with you a lot of resources regarding peer interaction. It seems like you're very compassionate about that.
Yes.
Anyone else? What would you tangibly like to get from um, the APEA experience?
Yes, I'll go. I'm interested in peer research, right?
Okay.
So I want to learn about what others are working on, and especially action research in the classroom. That was the initial item that caught my interest about the peer group.
Okay. So you would like to do so. You want to get published, basically. You would like to work with other people to get published.
No, not really. I'm just
Why not?
naturally
Get
curious.
published. Get published. Why not?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I will, if that comes about, right? Maybe as we move on, it's something I would be interested in. But at the moment, I'm very curious about what others are working on in terms of their own research that is happening in their classroom. I really do want to become a researcher, because a lot of the things I see us do, I'm not sure that they are effective. They are just things that get handed off from maybe someone that appears to be has like higher order knowledge, right, to the rest. But I would like to know what works, and then I also definitely also want to try that out and um, do that in a systemic way. So that's why I liked the idea of methodology when you were speaking about it, but not necessarily others kind of telling me, okay, this is the way to do things. Like I should be able to say, I have evidence that you can verify or you can kind of replicate that this worked. Yeah, so that's
So
my interest.
can I suggest something? And I think you hit the
Sure.
head on you hit the head on you hit the hammer, hit the nail on the head with the hammer, whatever that expression
No,
is.
yeah.
Um, uh, I would suggest um, that you replicate research because I think you make an extremely essential point and critical point. Something could work in Saudi Arabia, but it doesn't work in Nigeria. Something could be
Mhm.
extremely successful in Lahore, but it doesn't work in Karachi, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
of different independent variables, external factors, right? So that's where the class action research comes from. And that's the beauty of replication. So I would highly advise you to, and I would highly advise you to publish, to replicate other people's research and publish it. I
Okay.
would because people need to know uh people need to know that yeah, it works in this context, but it doesn't work in this context, right? It works
Yeah.
in this situation, but doesn't work in this situation. Well, maybe it does. Um,
Okay.
so I would encourage you to
Mhm.
start your researching career by replicating others' research. Um,
Okay.
and I would be more than happy to do that with you. And once and maybe we'll co-author a paper together.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you
Yeah.
mentioned publishing, I thought it was, for the sake of publishing, but I did not think about it in terms of replicating some of the like popular methods, right, that don't have that we've embraced without question, right?
Yeah.
So let us sort of like question it and see if there are things we should actually continue or not. Yes, so
Yeah.
thanks.
So I thank you. I think that's the road that we should go down. So one of the points I think I'm gonna list is that we start publishing papers, that we replicate research out, and that even if you don't want to publish it, that you write it down so you know for yourself that even if you want to just share with, you can still share it with your colleagues, that I tried this, I replicated this research, and it worked or it didn't work, or it kind of
Yeah.
worked, or um, and that is, I think that's a very good outcome for a peer and for yourself and for a peer, and it will encourage other people to be researchers, because ultimately that's what you are, guys. You guys are not teachers, and Zara has heard me say this before. You guys are not teachers, you're researchers, whether you like it or not. You're researchers. And if you're not a researcher, I don't know what you are, because that means you're implementing the same foolishness year in and year out. And people are not really getting the value from you. Because every year you have a different group of individuals who come and sit in front of you. And they're not the same individuals that was there the year before. They're not the same, right? They're just not the same people. They're different people. They have different wants, needs, and expectations. They come from different generations. They're in the sixth grade in a different year, with different inputs, right? And even if you do it, replicate on a very low level or a very basic level, you don't necessarily want to publish. I still would love to show you guys how to use SPSS. And that's the system that we use to run all types of statistical analysis. I would love to show you guys how to do that. So you can take that data that you gain, put it in SPSS, and at the very least, figure out whether whether it was significant or not, whether the findings were significant. And whether you want to share that with the world or not, that's different. So we can speak intelligently. So when you see things and you hear things and people say things, you can either say to yourself, doesn't work, right? Or you can say, hey, that doesn't work. Right? I tend to be the guy who says, hey, that doesn't work. But everyone should not be like me. Please, please don't be like me. I have a big mouth and I get in trouble. Anyone else would like to get anything out of, you can type it, let me see in the chat. Anything else that anybody would like to get out of this experience? Anybody would like to get any advanced degrees?
Hi, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Miss
I just
you.
wanted to
Miss
ask,
you.
I'm missing
Haven't seen
everyone.
you.
Rose, where is everyone today? All the girls, our gang.
They'll be back. They'll be back. They'll be back
I
once they see
think they
this.
are celebrating this National Day holiday or something.
Everyone's celebrating National Day right now.
Yes,
So
maybe.
yeah.
So, sir, these meetings will be online always?
We'll do online. I'm thinking we'll do once a month. Once a
Inshallah.
month we'll
Yes.
do online, inshallah.
Yeah.
And we'll have a topic, and the first one will be Mr. Sajad's peer cooperative learning conversation, cooperative learning conversation, and I'll help Mr. Sajad give that presentation, and then we can. I think um, we'll also really focus the first couple of months around the Cultures of Thinking book. Thank you for that,
Yeah.
Zara. I think that's a
Yeah.
good way to.
I really like that book.
Yeah, it's a good book. It should be revisited every couple of years. Very
Yeah.
good book. And then once we graduate from that book, we can go and read another impactful book. This one, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. This one is, ooh.
Okay, I'll get it.
Yeah. This one is, this one. Yeah.
Oppressed.
So, but we'll start off with we'll start off with Ron Richards, Culture is Thinking, because
Oh,
that is a practical book, where this is more theory. That is practical, and it gets people to understand um, where they are regarding their instruction. I don't want to hold you guys too much longer because that would not be fair to you guys. I just wanted to launch it off today by just introduce myself, talk to you guys briefly about just my philosophy behind education, meet new folks, and kind of give understand what you want to get out of this experience. If you guys don't mind, I'll share this video with the group. If you do mind, then I won't share this video with the
yes,
group. Does
yes,
anyone
you
not
can share.
mind?
Yes, you can share.
Does anyone else not mind? Anyone else object to me sharing this video? I need to get everyone's buy-in. Okay. All right. So I'll share this video with the group so they can see what we talked about. We will meet once a month. I'll set the date. Maybe we'll meet the first Monday of every month or something like this. And we'll have a topic at hand. The first topic will be cooperative learning. And then we'll introduce this book, Cultures of Thinking. I'll put the book in the group today or tomorrow. And Mr. Sajad, we talk anyway. We'll talk about the presentation behind cooperative learning, how you want it to look, because it's your presentation. I'm only here to support you. And then we'll go from there. How's that, guys? Is
Yes.
there any particular day that we should hold our meetings and timings?
Timings, days, Saturday mornings, like before we used to take our TESOL classes.
Yep.
You're
Saturday
not
morning.
starting TESOL?
I'm transitioning out of TESOL to, I'm trying to get people into the master's program and licensure. But I have to see.
Or you can keep some workshops like before.
Yeah, we'll do workshops. We'll
Yes,
definitely do work.
better.
All right. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen?
No, thank you.
No? Well, it was a pleasure meeting everyone. It was great hearing your voice again, Ms. Zarin.
Yes, my camera is upside down. I don't know why.
What's going on here? Okay.
I don't know what happened. My cat, maybe. My cat is walking all around my laptop.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you just reset. Once you restart your computer, it'll probably get right.
Yes, maybe.
And guys, ladies and gentlemen, share APEA, the invitation link with other people. Get other people on the call. We're not asking for money for anyone. We just want people to become better educators and use best practices, whatever those best practices are, and be the best educator they could possibly be. We're not asking people for money. We're not asking people to give blood or anything. We just want them to give their all to their learners. With that, thank you for joining the call. We will see you guys next month. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.